So thank you all for joining today. Welcome to ISC's online workshops on healthy relationships. This is the third session we are having, and the initial session was the general healthy relationships, couple relationships, etc., presented by 3-hour counseling. And the second one was on narcissistic abusive relationships. And today we are talking about friendships and how to manage them well. Today's topic is on friendship. So what do we know about friends and who are friends and why friends? Okay, we're going to discuss all these things. And as you know, we all have friends in different capacities. And certainly you can agree with me that life is definitely better with friends. And who wouldn't want friends? We all look for companionship in one form or the other. Traditionally, you start with a family. Your first friends are your cousins and your relatives, and even your sisters, siblings, etc. And then you get exposed to your school life, where you get friends, your neighbors, say for example, and then through your education, you get to meet friends. And further to that, through engaging with the society, you get friends, and through work, you get friends, and through life, you get friends as well. So let us look at what is a friend. A friend generally is a favored companion, is also a person attached to another by feelings of affection or personal regard. It's usually a person who we like and or love for that matter, and a person who will give us assistance when needed, and they love us the same back. It could be you, it could be me. And what is friendship? Friendship is the relationship between two people who hold mutual affection for each other. They are friendly disposition or feeling for one another, and it's basically the bond between friends. Let's look at what are the types of friendship. So of course, you have casual friendships. These are the relationships which happen on the fly. It could be because you share something in common, you have a common interest, or you go to a meeting and you meet up with someone who you strike a conversation, and then you develop into a casual relationship. It is not something which is long lasting, but can be effective as well. So people with whom you share a common interest, but you do not necessarily form deep emotional bonds with. Okay, so these are the type of casual relationships. And the other types of relationships are close relationships. So they are the ones with strong emotional ties. And we are always comfortable with those close friends, with sharing our thoughts, experiences, and feelings. And most of all, we trust and support each other when needed. The other types of friendship is we call as true friends, and they have several attributes, which are you share similar values, interests, beliefs, and attitudes, and you often have open and honest communication. And you also share the joys of life, and as well as share the disappointments which come along in life as well. You share your dreams and you share your concerns as well. And of course, you, with your true friend, you have mutual respect for each other, you care for each other and support each other. And least of all, you concern about each other's safety and well-being, and you do everything which is needed to have a good and lengthy relationship. There are three types of friends that we often see in life. So with the previous session, we saw casual friends and close friends, and then you saw committed friends. So to summarize, we can classify the three types of friends as friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for a lifetime. So it all depends on which kind of friends you have. Often we have a few friends in these different categories as well. So we often see that in today's age, in the social media age, we often, and Facebook is now a medium where people spend a lot of time on, and through that, we accept friendship, we make friendship, etc. But are those friends real friends? Can any of you comment on whether you make friends through Facebook?
I think youngsters these days, that's what's happening, making friends on Facebook, right? So, and then getting hurt by them because they're expecting sometimes a lot, everyone views. That's what I yeah. And I really like the previous slide, which said that friends for reason, friends for season, and friends forever, right? Yeah. And do you really find friends forever now?
Correct. It's a very good point you're making, Jaspreet. So yes, these days, with the help of a button, you can get a friend. You can just add a friend, and they will remain there forever when I say forever, for the existence of you having that account. And you may not even talk to them. You may not even know them. So that is the kind of friendship that we're having these days. So they become friends with the touch of a button, as well as they unfriend themselves and go with the touch of a button. So they come and go in our lives, but are they real friends at all? So we talk about fake friends and real friends. So how do we distinguish between them? So fake friends usually say bad things behind your back and good things to your face, whereas real friends say good things behind your back and bad things to your face. I would actually appreciate a friend of mine to tell me if I'm doing something wrong rather than leading me on to believe that what I'm doing is right. That is not a real friend. So let's look at what are the benefits of friendship. So, of course, good friends are good for your health, and bad friends, of course, bad for your health, because when you deal with friendship, you have that emotional connection, or at least one of them, expects that emotional bonding, and with that exposure and with that expectation comes disappointment as well. And when it happens, it can hurt us a lot. So maintaining good friends is good for our good health. Friends can also help you celebrate good times and provide support during bad times. So that is an important trait or a good trait to actually identify who's a good friend. So those who are there with you in fun times may not be there with us in bad times, but who are there with us bad times and support us, etc., are really good friends. And those are the kinds of friendships we should be looking forward for. So friends prevent loneliness and give us chance to the offer needed companionship. So at the end of the day, we all look for companionship. So we either look for the companionship through family, through a partner, or sometimes even through pets. But more than often, we all look for companionship through friendship, where that is where we are open and we can share whatever we go through, personal thoughts, anything which you can't share with your partner, your family, etc., is what you share with your friends. And also, you can increase your sense of belonging and purpose, because at the end of the day, we all want to live a very happy life, and that happiness has to be shared with another person. Without sharing the happiness that we have, the happiness that we have is not meaningful. So it also helps us boost your happiness and reduce your stress as well. So often we go through tough times, and talking to people helps us relieve our stress. So it is important to find someone who you can let your steam out. So if you're going through a tough time, you should have someone to talk to. And more than often, it is your friend. And that can help us relieve our stress. And it also helps us improve our self-confidence and self-worth. So if you have friends who can actually help identify your success and then appreciate for who you are and what you do, it also helps us cope with trauma such as divorce, serious illness, job loss, or death of a loved one. As I was saying earlier, so we often go through bad times in our life, and it can be through divorce, sickness, or the loss of someone near and dear. So when we go through this, we need somebody who can be with us to share a shoulder, to lend us a ear, and listen to us and show us some empathy. So that is often achieved through a friend. And a friend can also encourage us to change, avoid unhealthy lifestyle habits such as excessive drinking or lack of exercise. If you find a good friend who can motivate us to do the right thing, it will be quite helpful in maintaining a good lifestyle as well. And one last thing is another benefit is friends also play a significant role in promoting our overall health. So mental health is a big issue these days, and good friends can make definitely a positive difference in our life.
You've touched on a very good point about mental health, especially in COVID times. People staying indoors because you're even working from home. And people don't realize it. Like in the beginning, I remember when we were working from home, it is good fun. Oh, wow, we don't have to go to work. We are working from home. But we also forget that at work, we meet, sure, they might not be our friends, but they could be just colleagues. But even colleagues, you spend time with them, you meet, you see people around, and it gives your mental health, right, some sort of life. Whereas when you're at home, basically, it can be really depressing for some people because you can't talk about work with your partner all the time. You can't talk to your children about work all the time. At work, you can talk about work with workmates. and their type of friends. When we say workmates, mates are friends. So yeah, that's what my thought was on.
Yeah, very good point, Jasprit, because as you mentioned, these days it's a lot different. COVID-19 has brought a lot of change in each and every one of us in different ways, of course. And one of the main things is that we have lost touch with people, meeting people, interacting with people, going out with people. All these restrictions has been put in place, which has affected us quite negatively, I would say. So it is important to find ways of keeping that friendship, keeping that companionship. And in this digital age, thankfully, we are able to communicate to everybody in this world. Imagine at times when this pandemic could have hit us, when we were just having access to writing letters, and we would have actually had a much more tougher time if that was the case. At least we should be grateful that we live in an age where we connect to people throughout the world. And so we'll proceed on to the next one, which is problems in friendship. So any good thing doesn't come easy. So often we find problems in friendship as well. And there are different kinds of problems that are faced in friendship. And not all of these traits are problems that you can have in your companionship or partnership. This may or may not happen in other kinds of relationships, but is common in friendship. So one of them is bullying. And bullying you often think and associate with school, where you're being bullied, etc. But it's definitely not the case. It can happen during adult age as well. And often it'll be when there are more than a few friends together. They'll often find someone who is the weak one, and they will try to bully them. They'll try to joke on them. They'll try to pester them. So these things are quite common in friends as well. So you must identify quickly that if you are being bullied, you should take action and try to resolve it rather than leading and letting it happen.
Do you think people realize when they are bullying someone, or like it takes a while for someone who can accept that I am being bullied? Because when you have friends, right, you believe in your friends and you trust, right? So, and making jokes, you think, oh, it's part of life. But when there's a fine line of bullying, right? So people who are bullying, because they become bullies, right? They think they're leaders, right? Sometimes. So leaders, well, I don't know whether I'm going too far, right? But in a group, when you have friends, right? So you will always have someone as a leader. And that leader can be a good leader or a bully leader, right? So I think that's what people need to watch out on, because sometimes your leader could be keeping the whole group together, friends, and the bully could break the group just to get important. I think people need to watch out for. You should have a good leader, so which is not bullying. I don't know whether I'm on the right track, but yeah, that's what I was thinking. Came to my mind. Yeah.
No, you definitely are, Jasprit, because there are different stages of bullying as well. Okay, but it often starts with a joke. It's just a joke. Okay, it could start with, hey, what kind of dress are you wearing? Okay, it could be a laugh. And if everyone laughs, you may laugh along with them in the first few instances. But the issue starts happening as and when it repeats itself, and the frequency becomes more and more. And if you are one of the targeted, because if you all, self-deprecating humor is also humor. But if you often see that you are the only one who is being targeted when you're in a group, then that is bullying. You need to identify it. And the best way to overcome it is to face it, and you need to communicate and let the other person know how you feel. Because by accepting it and laughing along with them is only going to encourage them to continue to do the same thing. Okay, so we must speak up. And other one is manipulation. So there are types of friendship, like when they call friendship with benefits, where they identify you as somebody who is gullible, who can be taken for a ride. Okay, so they often know that you are a giving person, and they take advantage of you, and they could manipulate you in certain ways to either take advantage of you or give them some benefits. It could be for them to grow in some capacity or get something in value back. So we must often find out what kind of relationship you have within your friends. Is it something it's always going to be take, and take? Or is it a give and take kind of relationship? So don't try to be manipulated just because they call yourself their friend. So we must identify and understand if we are being manipulated, and we must confront it if it happens. Another one is mistrust. So trust is the one biggest problem in all kinds of relationships, especially ones with emotional bonding. So we often trust people blindly. So we say, "Oh, you're my friend. I expect you to do the right thing. I expect you to speak, be honest. I expect you to have my back at all times." This is the trust we put often on our friends, and often this trust is broken through a particular incident where the person gives us reason not to trust them anymore, or they've done a certain act which causes you to not believe them anymore. So, whilst this is one of the most common problems, how do you overcome that? Does anybody have any point to say on this? Go on, Jaspreet.
All right. Now I was thinking, like mistrust is it's a major thing, right? So basically, it's right breaching your and that hurts most. When you trust someone, you trust as friends. You tell them all the secrets because I think that's what friendship is. You talk to them about anything and everything, and when that thing goes out, that is breaching the trust. And when you hear that, that means that person is not a real friend. Right? So, yes, it can be an acquaintance because there's a difference in friends and acquaintance. You can accept acquaintance, right? And when someone does anything wrong, right, and breaches your trust, I think that's something, that's an end for me.
The relationship is such a it's such an interaction. It takes time to build the relationship, and also at what stage of your life, in what context you are entering to the relationship. Obviously, the day when you meet somebody, you are not going to trust that person. You observe the pattern of the behavior, you observe how they think, how they mingle, how they comment, and then you create a frame in your mind. And that's how the slowly, because always they say that trust takes years to build, but it takes moment to just break.
Um, so the next point is jealousy. So often we find that in during between friends, we get jealous as well because each person is an individual with their individual lives, individual careers. Um, in this, we often see people's growth as well. And when one person has success in certain things, and the other person does not like it, and they often actually show it in different ways, and often that could be of accusing that person of not, sharing their success or not even guiding them to get success along with them as well. So that is something which affects the friendship as well. Maybe not more often than the other ones, but jealousy does have its impact on friendship as well. So how do you overcome that? You must be happy for your friends, because if your friends are happy, you're going to have a good time. So be happy for the other person and understand what steps they took to get their success and where they've got to. Maybe you can get them to guide you as well for you to be successful as well. Because if you associate with good people having good times, there's a good chance that you can have a positive effect on you as well. And the next one is betrayal. So often we find that it's associated with mistrust as well. We often find that you take your friends for their word and you trust them to do the right thing or to have your back at all times. But then you realize that in a particular incident that they either don't back you up or they go ahead and talk behind your back. So when you talk behind the back, this is one of the most common problems in which leads to betrayal, and it is something which is really hard to mend as well. So betrayal is one of the most common problems. So can anyone comment on how
I
you
agree
tackle
with
this?
you. My hand is up. I agree with you. Betrayal is the biggest thing because, right, you always expect your friends to have your back, whether right or wrong at that time, right? You expect that someone will come and support you. They will stand by you, not that they will betray you and sort of, go to the other side, right? So you don't need friends to stand by you in every instance, but then there are times when you really need them. And I think that's the time when they should be standing by you, not betraying you. That's for sure, right?
You know what? I agree with you that you need support. But I think even if you are sometimes you have an issue, but openly, I think there are ways and articulately you can just turn that point in such a way that confrontation is avoided, and then in one-to-one private of the scene, you can always say, "Suggested you could have been like that, or you could have tackled like that." But I think confronting and humiliating in front of people, that is one thing I would definitely say that's a betrayal, definitely, because you want somebody to understand you, and that is what all about the friendship.
Yep.
Understanding, they understand you, and that's why you are in the relationship, right?
As Praja said in the beginning, if someone says it to my face, it's much better than behind my back, right? So
Yes.
the same way, betrayal, like you want your friends like to be at your back, right? So basically, or having a back, basically covering you up, or you do expect on times, and there might be only once in a while, right? I'm not saying that if a friend wants all the time to lie for you, well, then they are not, that comes in
That's not a
manipulation.
friend either. Yeah.
Bullying and manipulation. That's not trust, and that's not friendship. Right? But when you really need someone to stand by you, that is when you really, and yes, behind or otherwise, they can be very honest and they can say, this is what you did wrong, because maybe we don't realize ourselves that we've done something wrong.
Yeah.
We are expecting our friends to stand by every time. But
Hmm.
when
Correct.
expecting a back, that is when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. And one more thing is, we often think our friends have betrayed us when they actually haven't. We assume certain things as well. And this is based on other people coming and talking to us about, hey, this person told about you. Okay. So it again leads to mistrust as well. Because you need to know if rather than believing the third person and taking them for their word and then considering your friend to have betrayed, the first thing is you need to go and speak to that friend and talk to them about it. But we don't do it. We often assume that it has happened and take them for their word, and then we stop talking to the friend, and this causes more issues as well. So we should always clarify what has happened before we assume. So
Yeah.
communication is key as well.
Definitely, yes.
So the next one is differences. So of course, as I mentioned, friendship is between two different individuals. We often forget that individuals have their own aspirations, dreams, likes, thoughts, feelings, etc. We often want our friend to replicate us. We want to influence them, and we want them to do the things which we like to do as well. And sometimes it's not the case. You can have common interests, but it definitely cannot match for each different interest that you have. So definitely there will be differences, and good friends often find what are the common likes that you have and what are the differences as well, so that you can give time and space to each other to have a healthy friendship rather than having conflicts all the time. And you might expect your friend to come out for a movie because you're interested in that movie, whereas that other person tries to avoid that particular thing because you don't know that they don't like it, and vice versa. So differences can cause problems in friendship as well. Any comments on this?
Yes, because I think normally they say that opposites attract, right? That has been a saying in the past, right? So I think differences are important, right? So you don't need to be same. Although in saying that, even they say that imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So if someone is copying you, that means like they like you. It's the best form of flattery, right? So in friends, so you need to keep a balance, I think. uh, yes, difference.
Correct. Balance is the key.
Balance is, yeah.
Right. So the next one is inconsistency. So you often come across friends who are close to you at a certain period and then they ghost you at certain times. They disappear. And you're confused. I'm like, hey, we had a very wonderful time and we went out, we had a laugh, that person was there for me all the time, but where are they now? So you have that expectancy that they should be there with you all the time, or they should be consistent. Yes, consistency is good, but you have to understand that other people have their lives as well to lead, or they may be going through an issue which they are not sharing with you. So not all kinds of friendships are close friendships. So you may need to understand and give them that space so that they are able to interact with you well. And the next one is conflicts. So conflicts happen in most of the relationships, whether it's friendship or companionship or partnership or even through colleagues, etc. So how do you manage conflicts? Again, the best way to manage conflicts is to have clear and good communication that will help you resolve the particular conflict. If you want to play tug of war, it will never resolve. You're going to, one person is going to win or the one person is going to lose. You will never have a common goal that you're working towards. So conflicts does cause issues in any kind of relationship, and friendship cannot be spared in this. So we need to have good communication to resolve conflicts. And I often say that shouting is not the way. You need to have good reasoning skills. The next one is bad company. So what happens is friendships do drift away as well, owing to bad company. Because if another friend comes into the group and they could be a bad influence, even good influence can turn out to cause issues. But especially if you're in bad company, those traits rub off on you as well, and that can cause issues in friendship. And the last but not least is non-commitment. And this goes in hand with what we spoke earlier. It's about casual friendships. So in casual friendships, they just come and go, and they're not committed to a long-term relationship. They're not committed to an emotional bonding to the extent you may actually expect them to be. So you need to understand what kind of friendship you are in, because most of these problems resolve around that. Because if we put our expectations in our friend, if we take them as a very good friend, whereas they've taken you only as a casual friend, that can be a mismatch and can cause problems as well. So there are other problems involved in friendship, but we have just tried to tackle the most common ones. And is there any comment before we proceed?
Can I say something? Actually, when I was looking at the list of friendship, that means they're not friends, right? So basically, it's time pass. Right? If you accept that, yes, these people are just time pass, then that's fine, right? I think it's the way we see things. The way, if we say conflict, if you're having conflicts all the time, well, it's better to avoid. Yes, talking is good. You should always talk and then move on. You should forgive and forget, right? So, or sometimes forgive and don't forget, right? But I think when all these things are there, that bullying, manipulation, mistrust, jealousy, betrayal, difference of opinion I'm prepared to accept, right? But inconsistency, conflicts, that means it is not friendship. It's more of something like acquaintances, like where you know someone and you've just come together, right? As either you don't have good friends or you need to move on. You need to start thinking and planning. But yeah, that just came to my mind when I was reading all these points. Yep, sorry.
No, definitely. The thing is, there are different stages of friendship as well.
Yes, that's right.
It depends on which stage of friendship you are in. Because with my best friend, we actually argue on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we still laugh about it and then we move on, right? So it depends on which stage you are in and what kind of friendship, what is the age of the friendship, how close you are.
Yeah, that is friend. That is friend who will tell you, you can argue, you can fight, but you're not being betrayed and not being people feeling jealousy. See, jealousy always comes, like especially in a lot of our age, not our age actually. At our age, it's all over and done with. But when you're young, you do feel jealous. Someone gets a nice car, you think, wow. Someone gets a better wife, good-looking wife, and you think, oh my God, people get jealous, right? So, and it depends on how much jealousy. Someone gets a good job, and you think, I'm better, more educated, I'm better off. You get jealous. So that's when the friends grow apart, because the jealousy. So
I think what we also need to know about the personality type, like not see, some people are really very happy with the friends around, and some people are loner. If you really try to be a friendly to the loner, then you are just going against the wall probably, so that's why to understand very quickly in the initial interaction the depth of and the length of journey you will be taking with that particular person. If you can identify that, then I think there are a lot of mistrust or inconsistency, conflict kind of issues can be resolved, you know.
Sure. Thank you, and we agree, Sarayu. So we'll
Mhm.
move on to the next one. So this was something which I found quite interesting. So this person says, I hate my friends. They use me and abuse our friendship. But I don't know what's best, being their pack mule or being alone. So how often, have we been in this position where we start, questioning what do we need to do? We are confused because they were once a very close friend, but then you start to realize that they've been using us and taking the relationship for granted. And you often think, hey, should I put up with this or should I let go? And if I let go, am I going to be alone? So are you sacrificing your self respect, your dignity, your values just because you want someone in your life?
That's a very good point to discuss. Actually, I'd like someone else's views on that too, because and this is common. It's very common. We hear it from people, right? Even at Indian Sports Center or in our jobs, like people do talk about it. So I would like someone else's view, because sometimes we've been lucky to have, I consider myself very lucky to have very good friends, and friends who are betrayed, we move on, right? So, but then because we've got friends, but yeah, if someone is in this situation where they're thinking whether should I let this happen, should I let it, or should I be a loner?
I think ultimately, my personal opinion is actually how much craving you have to go for that friendship, first point. Second thing is friend is really comforting you or mirroring your likes and dislikes or all the time having his or her own way. That is, these are the parameters I think determines that the length to which you will be traveling with that person, you know. So it's so important. All the time, if it is source of discomfort, then obviously they are not friend. Having their own way, they are not at all friend, you know.
Yes, I really like the view what you guys are saying, and I would like to add one thing is sometimes we are good enough, the person is also okay, but there is a negativity or some kind of a toxicity in there, and then you yourself on that energy level understand, that something is not right. So then that time it is everyone's choice, but according to me it's like it's not worth to waste your own life's precious time just because that person is your friend, so-called friend. And it's better to go away from such toxic people for your own cleanliness.
Very
That's
well
what.
said, Bhumi. I completely agree. In my opinion, any kind of relationship which compromises your self worth, your dignity, your freedom, and your well being, and of course, your safety, is not a good relationship. So, either you need to work on fixing that relationship, and if you have spent all efforts in fixing that relationship, and that other person is not taking the time to fix it, or they're not cooperating to fix it, or they don't care, then we need to move on. I would rather be alone than be in a toxic relationship. And saying that, we don't need to be alone. We often need to find ways of engaging with other people on getting new friends and new relationships, because even a casual friendship is much better than a long term bad one.
True.
And
So,
actually, I like your idea, Prajay, that when you said that, you need to talk about it, like discuss it and then move on, because you didn't say, okay, because that could be your assumption, you're losing a good friend because just it's in your mind, right? So negativity, but talk about it. If it's not working, then move on. Yes.
I
correct.
think resolve the issues and then moving on or continue, you know.
Because that is good for your own health and mental health if you've resolved it.
Mm.
Unresolved issues affect you yourself personally as well. Yeah.
Because you're brewing and then you are not spelling it out, you know.
Yeah. So it's a very important point you have raised, Jaspreet, because there are a lot of relationships which get broken down because we assume certain things or we are hurt and we just give up on that relationship and we move on. I would say if it is worthy enough and you've spent and invested some time in that relationship, I think if it is worthy enough for you to spend a little bit more time to see if you can sort out, and if it cannot, then move on. Because giving up on relationships is not a good trait as well. Because as much as we expect a good friend to be a friend to us, we need to be a good person as well, so that they can be a friend.
Exactly. And I think there are a lot of, like, you can even have mediators, you can have psychologists involved. These sorts of things can help you, right? Because but that depends. If you're losing a lot of friends every time, then you need to look at, okay, how do we deal with it, and have a mediator involved, right? So breaking relationships is also not good, right? So yeah, trying to, yes, negativity is there, but there would be a lot of positives as well. So need to weigh it up. And this actually, this friendship also reminds me of relationship as well. This is friendship, but it could be relationship too, where, right, you think that, hang on, and people don't want to give up on relationship because they think, okay, being their mule is better, or being alone. A lot of men don't leave women, a lot of women don't leave men, right, because of this. In relationship, I'm talking about husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, partners, or like even gay relationships, that because they don't want to break up because they're not sure, they don't want to be alone.
Arnish, do you want to say something?
Yeah, look, it's a very healthy discussion going on. I'm really enjoying it. Now there are two things. Friendship is always an organic thing, right? It grows with time. It's time tested. So, but before you become friends, you are acquaintances. You are not friends. Okay, and then the relationship which we are discussing are the kind of a common interest relationships, right? That's not a friendship. When those issues are sorted out, or those things are achieved, the relationship breaks. you know so those should be discussed, I think, in a different context, right? If, say, for example, if one boyfriend girlfriend, they have got a relationship to get married, so they get married and that's sorted out, then they don't have a life, after that. But if somebody has got real friendship, the friendship is the start of any relationship. Like if you are with, say, for example, with my daughters, if I remain their father and they are my daughters, I always think like that, then the relationship will not grow till I have a friendship with them. Similarly, for any relationship, friendship is the major constituent, right? And that grows with time. You have to test, you have to bear a lot, you have to think a lot. Like in the culture from where I come, in Punjab, look, we normally are like Jasprit ji is there. We not don't care about small things and anything like that. Like we don't go into nitty-gritties of things. If we like a person, it's an organic relationship, right? So I think it's a very vast topic, but really good and healthy discussion going on. So for friendship, you don't have anything to push. So if you push a relationship, it is not a friendship, right? Let it go as it goes.
Yeah, you can't take people for granted. That's the thing. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And you
So
can't
anyway,
force a relationship as well. So, which is very well said, Avnish. Definitely, point is valid, and I hope it helps the rest of the audience as well. So, if we can move on to the next one. So, this is, I think, what we're all here for. On the positive side, we all know there are problems in relationships, friendships, or otherwise. So, how do you nurture these relationships, especially friendships? So, first of all, we need to be kind to each other. Okay, kindness doesn't come at a cost, and it is something which you can offer. And being kind will give you the pleasure and the happiness as well, because at least you know that you have done your part. You cannot control how the other person feels, how the other person reciprocates. But as far as we have done the right thing, I even said earlier, as long as we have made the effort to try and mend the relationship, we should be at peace, because we have exhausted all efforts to make this work. And if further to that it doesn't, it's better to separate amicably rather than have a a breakup which is sour, and then it hurts us in the long run as well.
That's right. Kindness is very, very important. Like, yeah, we need to be kind to everyone because we need to be kind to ourselves. Anyone who is kind to themselves will be kind to other people. I think it's a major point in nurturing a friendship, right? So, yeah, kindness doesn't say caring. I think caring as well. That you don't have that point in here, but yeah, kind and caring person will always be a good friend and I hope we'll get better friends. So, yeah.
Correct. And then the next point is listen up. Okay, so listen up and open up is altogether communication at the end of the day. So we often do not do this. We all assume that the other person is a mind reader. They have telepathy skills and they have abilities to read our minds, which is not the case at all. We often make assumptions, and that leads to problems as well. I've heard many friends saying that, but they should know. They should have done the right thing. I don't know why they did it. And I often come back and ask, have you talked to them? And they often reply, no, why should I? They should know better. So if you actually don't talk about it, if you don't speak up, and if you don't express yourself, there's a good chance the other person may not understand what you're going through. Not everybody goes through a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in relationships. I wish they would have a course on that because we study mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, all these things which we often don't use in our life at all, in our careers. But rather, if we had a course on relationship, I think that would actually serve and give us the life skills that we need to have good and healthy relationships. So one of the traits is communication.
There are courses nowadays on relationships. Yeah.
Good. So we need to know how to talk. Okay. And it's a skill. Not everybody has it, but you don't need to be skillful in talking as long as you open your mouth and speak up. Okay. And as long as you start a conversation, it can lead you somewhere. So that is what
you have to be honest. You have to be honest in your feeling and expressions, Take the face value, not all the time keep analyzing the intentions of that person and take the face value. Is the person giving you comfort? Is a good communication? So that is where you have to just take it as a face value and enjoy the moments,
Yeah, and also in this social media age, we often see that we've heard of this term called blocking friends. Okay, so we block people out of our lives. We just click one button and say block, and that's the end of it. Okay, and you often see that they wouldn't have even communicated with them to express themselves, and but blocking is the easy way out. And to be very honest, I don't have any block list. I don't have anyone in my block list for that matter. I would rather tell the person, even if they've offended me, even if they've done something wrong towards me, I would rather tell them, look, this is not something which I encourage or entertain. I would not like to continue this conversation with you. Okay. Thank you very much. I wish you all the very best. If you end it like that, I think it's a better way. But often we find that no, this person has done something. I don't want to be in their life. I don't want them to look at me, and then you start blocking them. And whilst I say this, blocking is necessary because talking also is an issue these days. So when it comes to that level, you've expressed yourself and this person keeps harassing you more than often, then of course there is a need, a necessity for blocking. But otherwise, I would encourage everybody to speak once and try to resolve the issue before you even part ways for that matter.
That's right. And listening is a major part in communication also. When we study communication, listening is a big issue, a big part, right? That we talk about, that we need to listen. And there's a difference in listening and hearing, right? Because you can hear things, but you need to listen it. So, yeah, that would be another topic. So let's go.
The next one is, of course, demonstrate trust. Okay. Trust has to be earned. Respect has to be earned. Okay. Just rather than trusting that person, okay, you're my friend, I trust you to do the right thing. Rather than that, demonstrate. You demonstrate how the other person can trust you and get them to demonstrate as well. And this can only happen through time. So we need, when we're talking about growing friendship, you need to give it time. Don't jump into it. Don't just because you had a coffee together and you had a laugh and you had a fun time doesn't mean you are good friends. It
Yeah,
needs
best
time,
friends
it
forever.
needs nurturing, and you need to build the trust rather than taking the trust for granted or assuming the trust in the first place.
I like
And
you said that you need to demonstrate because you need to do it first. Be a friend as you want them to be. So you have to be a good friend first. If you
correct.
put someone
We
else,
often want a good friend, but we don't behave like one.
that's right.
So next one is make yourself available. Okay, not all the time, but when your friend needs you, they often say a friend in need is a friend indeed. Okay.
That's an old saying. Nowadays, like, yeah, you don't friend in need, like, then what happens to the other times? The other time acquaintances, friend is in need is not always friend indeed.
Yeah. So nowadays I say a friend only in need is not a friend indeed.
That's right. Yes, I like your saying. I like it. Yeah.
So make time for others. Okay. So I know that we are all pressed for time these days, but if your friend wants your time, try to give them the time. And if you can't give them the time then and there, allocate some time. Tell them, look, I'm not able to talk to you right now, but let's do this another day. Okay, and we'll fix the time and do it. And make sure you get back as well, so that they feel that you are there in the relationship and you are there to help them when needed. Last but not least point, give before you take. Jasprit, you just mentioned that we should first show that we are a good friend. Okay.
Yeah.
And along with that comes you give before you take. Okay. So, which means we must show them love, we must give them affection, we must care for them. When we demonstrate all these things, they are bound to get back to us. And when they don't get back to us, then they're not a friend.
That's true. And I think these days friendships have changed also, Prajay, because in our days, and now that when, like movies like When Harry Met Sally, right? That sort of movie, right? So they used to say boys and girls can't be friends, right? Boys are boys' friends, girls are girls' friends. They can't be friends. But the reality is they can be friends, right? So they can be very good friends. And I think for girls, like a lot of guys can be very good friends because they can stand for them, they can stand by them, right? It's only a matter of trust and keeping the boundaries where the boundaries come. It's very important that in any relationship, and that means friendship or parental relationship or whatever, there needs to be boundaries. If you keep your if you're within your boundaries, I think the friendships continue, because I'm not sure whether the next slide is going to bring in boundaries. But for me, I think boundaries is very important. Where there are no boundaries, that's when the expectations rise. That is when people sort of distrust rise. That is where jealousy comes in. But if there are boundaries and people know that, all right, this is how far, and as Arunesh had mentioned earlier, the fact is that yes, like you don't can't take people for granted. It's okay, like everything is fine in friendship. Don't take it that okay, like and give before you take should be your motto. And if you have that motto, your friendship will always succeed. If you listen to the people, if you are demonstrating trust, I think you will be a good friend and you will have good friends. That's my view.
So it brings us to the close of
It
this
brings
session,
us to the end. Oh, I see.
right?
I think
It's we have been here for an hour. Yes, time flies when we're having fun, and especially when we are among friends.
And thanks to Jaspreet ji, आपने you sent that link and I just saw it late, but then I immediately joined and it's really very informative and enlightening kind of conversation. I really love it. Thank you.
thank you, Bhumika. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Definitely. So, friendship is not bound by age, sex, race, religion, language.
Yes.
There are no restrictions when it comes to friendship. The only thing which we need to keep in mind is we are all individuals and we need to, give them the time and space to be good friends. We should take the time in nurturing the relationship and do what is necessary to make it work. And whilst problems will come up, we should take the time, communicate with each other, and try to resolve it and work it out. Where it doesn't work out, we then need to separate amicably.
That's
saying
right.
that,
Say thank you and goodbye.
I would like to thank you all, and we'll finish the session now. Thank you.
Thanks, Project.
Thank you, Prajit. That was